first of all, thank you for inviting me to have this presentation here, and thank you for coming in the middle of the days where we are supposed to rest, and you are coming here to hear me for an hour or so. So we are going to talk about the introduction to the Polis method. How can we switch? I will tell you. Yeah, good. So the background is the failure of the traditional methods applied to the teaching of ancient languages. I have to say that when I had my PhD, I couldn't read. I mean, I would say you will be honest. I couldn't read Plato, even the easy Plato in the text. I was not able. So what I was able to do after 2 years of Greek at high school, 5 years at the university, then 7 years of PhD, what I was able to do is to take the text of Plato, 20 lines, to take a dictionary, perhaps have an eye from time to time to the grammar because there were some rules that were not clear, and then to translate it. And there were errors and mistakes, so I had to check with the translation afterwards. And that took me perhaps 3 hours to translate 20 lines. That I was able to do, not more than that. So of course, I mean, again, I mean, I have learned a lot during this process because you learn the grammar, you learn the authors, you learn the methodology, you learn to translate, you learn a lot of secondary literature. I am not, I mean, we have to respect the work that is done in the departments of classics. I mean, it's a very good work that is done. And we train people who are experts in the ancient world, in ancient Greece, in Rome. They know about literature, they know about civilization, culture, Greek culture, Latin culture, etc. But from the point of view of the speed or the fluency in reading, I was not there. And I think it's a general impression. I mean, there are some people who manage to get there, but I didn't. So at the same time, so this is the background. We see that the traditional methods that are not so traditional, we call them traditional, but they are not so traditional, at least not for Latin. Up till the 18th century, Latin has been taught immersively. It's very recently that Latin has been taught through grammar and translation. For ancient Greek, it is a little bit different. Even in the humanists didn't, I mean, save exceptions, they didn't speak ancient Greek. There were some exceptions, but they were not able, they taught Greek either in Latin or in Italian. Even, I would say, even the humanists coming from Greece, so people like Lascaris or people, I mean, the great Greek humanists, we have records, we have testimonies from letters where we know how they taught. They were translating. They were not teaching. First of all, most of them had Byzantine Greek as a spoken language. They were able to write in ancient Greek, certainly, perhaps to speak with, I don't know, with how they spoke ancient Greek. Some of them spoke a kind of Koine Greek. But the non-Greek humanists didn't master Greek, and they had to translate. And the proof of that is that we have very few letters of humanists writing to each other in ancient Greek. We have today many more letters or emails in ancient Greek among scholars or even WhatsApp that are exchanged in perfect ancient Greek today than in the times of the humanists. So Greek has not been taught as in an immersive setting ever since antiquity, we could say. But Latin, certainly till the 18th century, that was the normal way it was taught immersively. So the new thing is the second point, the emergence of scholars teaching Latin as a living language all over the world. First, it has been Latin. So what we can say is that we have Latin has never stopped being a living language. I am not saying a mother tongue, but a living language. Even when I was doing my studies at Aix-en-Provence in the 80s, there was a Circulus Latinus in Aix-en-Provence, and people who attended that Circulus Latinus were very, very old. And we were advised not to go there because it would harm our Latin. Today, there are plenty. So I would say that the 80s, when I studied Latin, it was really the bottom of the living Latin. Latin was disappearing. Now it's a full resurgence. I mean, it's a full emergence. It's amazing. We have places where you have lectures that are given in a perfect Latin, like Terence Thunberg or Elena Minkova. They are giving it in a perfect Latin. And then the majority of the people who are listening, you have 40 people listening to this lecture, and they are all in their 20s. And at the end of the lecture, they ask questions in Latin. So that's the background. And then the presence in Jerusalem of a team of teachers in ancient languages. I mean, we are a team. I mean, there is something wrong, sorry, in what he was saying. I was not his teacher of Greek. There was a team of teachers of Greek. And I'm the one who teaches less ancient Greek today at Polis. All the teachers teach much more hours per week than me. So it's a team. So the presence in Jerusalem of a team of teachers in ancient languages, Greek, Biblical Hebrew, Latin. Next, please. So what are the main principles of the method and the practical implications? First, full immersion. This is not very original. I'm not saying, so the Polis method is about full immersion, but this is something that is practiced by many other methods where you teach a modern language or even an ancient language. So you have, but it's a requisite. And full immersion is important for maximum exposure into the language. So what happens is that classes make exclusive use of the target language from day one. There are ways to arrive in a class and to say, ego Christophoros eimi. Ti sei su, ego Christophoros, ti sei su, ti sei su. Ti sei su, ego Christophoros eimi. Su, ego Christophoros. Ah, Kallista Eirekas. There are ways to maintain a full, from very day one, to maintain a full conversation only in ancient Greek, in perfect ancient Greek. So classes make exclusive use of the target language, and even outside the class, we speak ancient Greek, perhaps not the first week, but very soon we speak only ancient Greek after the class with the students. When a student comes to see me, perhaps she or he starts in English, I will answer back in Greek till she will get tired and she will start answering back in ancient Greek. So translation exercises are excluded. Not that translation exercises are not a good thing. They are an excellent thing, but it is not what we are teaching. So there is such a thing as teaching to translate, and it's a very good thing. I'm not saying that translating is bad, but it is not what we are teaching. We are teaching to speak, because our goal is not to reach the skills of translation. Our goal is to reach the skill of reading fluency. So we have to be very clear about our goals. What we want is that someone, after spending 2 years at Polis, becomes able to read the Apology of Socrates without dictionary, without translation, reading slowly, understanding 95% of each page. That's the goal. And it is a goal that is reachable. I took the example of the Apology of Socrates because it's there. You cannot read anything in ancient Greek if you start from zero after 2 years. It's impossible. This is literature. You will reach to read Thucydides without translation and without dictionary after many years, because Thucydides is very difficult. But one can read the easy Plato after 2 years of full immersion in ancient Greek. So explanations are given in the target language. Even grammatical explanations, it is not that we don't teach grammar. We will see how we teach grammar. But explanations are given in the target language. Grammatical explanations are given in the target language, very progressively, very gradually, but they are given in the target language. Does this mean that we cannot use other languages at all? No. But we don't switch language. That's a very important thing in linguistics. So you start, for instance, we have an abstract word. I don't know. We could have an abstract word, parresia, and we try to explain it once, twice, 3 times in ancient Greek. They still don't understand. We go to pan, resia. We look at the etymology. Still, they don't understand. Okay, we can translate it. We can give a translation in English, just a word, but we haven't given a sentence. To give, because even if I am talking, I don't know, Portuguese, at one stage I will say, but what is said in English as that, and we are not switching the language, so we are not changing the charm of the full immersion. So that's okay. To give a word, it's okay, but not a sentence. We don't switch. We keep into the immersion. Let us go on. So then we have dynamic language development. Dynamic language development, this is something specific to the Polis method. It is the second principle. This is specific to Polis method. It's what you have exemplified in hendiotria, for instance. It's the idea is that the order in which the learner internalizes the different features of the target language respects the inner structure and dynamics of that same language, and is very much affected or inspired by the way a child learns her or his mother tongue. So, if do you? They hear. Okay, good. So there is an algorithm to learn a language, which is based not on grammar but on pragmatics, and this is why this algorithm shares common features with many different languages. This is why it is so easy to translate and adapt. You always have to adapt. A book like Unus Duo Tres or Hendiotria. Hendiotria is almost the translation of Unus Duo Tres, and it works well, but we had to adapt because it's a different language. Why? Because it is grounded on pragmatics and not on grammar. You know the difference between pragmatics and grammar. Grammar is specific to a language. Pragmatics, it's deeper. In all languages, I will have commands. That's something that I do with the language. I tell a child, come, and she or he comes, eat, or whatever. But there are languages where you don't have an imperative. Not all languages have an imperative. So the thing is, there is an order. We cannot, we have to understand how language is grounded. Okay, so for instance, if I want to internalize and not just to learn the Greek verb, I cannot start with the indicative, because the indicative is not it's not the basis of the Greek verb. If I take a verb like lambano, lambano is already very elaborated. I mean, the root is lab. And where do I find the closest thing to lab in the Greek verb, in the conjugations of the Greek verb? What is the closest thing that I have to the root, lab? Yes, and I will, and even more than that, the aorist imperative, labe. So the problem is that when I started trying to speak ancient Greek in order to teach in ancient Greek, my main problems were imperatives. I didn't have. I mean, I wanted to say, how would I say, get out from the room? Exerchomai, but excel son, another step. Excelfe. Okay. So it was not immediate. So I had to learn in the reverse order. I had to learn again ancient Greek to understand, to be able to have something really automatic, because otherwise you cannot speak. But the basis is elf, excelfe. Then I have, and then I have the verb. And then from there, so if I have labe, I will have labe, labete, elabe, elabon, elabes, elambanon, lambano. Okay, the verb starts growing. We start adding morphemes. We start adding information. But the smallest information is in the imperative. This is why we have only lab plus e. That's it. The smallest information. So there is an algorithm. If I find the right algorithm, and this is something that has to be done through linguistics, then I will be able to pave the way to the learner so that the learner learns easily. There has been a book that has been very useful for us. It was a study by Ursula Stefani with modern Greek children. And they were taking modern Greek children when they were 1 year and a half, when they were 2 years, when they were 2 years and a half, a group of 10. They were playing together. They were just recording. Let us see what are the verbs that they use naturally. And the first tense that appears is imperative aorist. Of course, it is modern Greek. It is not ancient Greek. But the structure of the verb, most of the features are still there. You don't have the optative, but you still have the subjunctive and so on. So it's very interesting to see what happens first, what happens then afterwards, and to try to model a grammatical progression according to the natural order. Doesn't mean that we have to follow exactly what the children do, because otherwise, for instance, ego, this is very abstract for a child. A child at the beginning will say her or his name, because instead of saying me, I, because I is very abstract. I am I, and you are I when you speak, and he is I when he speaks, and so on. So this is very abstract. You, it's the person in front of me. Okay, that's easier. But I comes later on. But we are not children. We have our mother tongue. So we are going to start learning I from the very beginning. We don't have to go through the same path. But at the same time, we have to find the algorithm. Let us go on, please. So there is a natural grammatical progression according to research in first language acquisition. In the early stages, pragmatic communication skills are regularly prioritized over grammatical analysis. First, we see the forest, then we see the tree. First, we see the starry night, then we see a single star, and then we see several stars. There is a progression. So I mean that I remember I grew up in Morocco. I was exposed to Moroccan Arabic since I was since my birth almost. And but I was not raised in Moroccan Arabic. I was raised in Spanish and French. So, but when I left Morocco, I was 12, and I would say that I had like a vocabulary of a child of 2 or 3 in Moroccan Arabic. So I knew how to say I don't know, manarf. But if you ask me in manarf, what is at that time, if you had asked me in manarf, what is I, what is don't, and what is no, I would have had a hard time to say. Now I know ma is not, n, the n is I, and arf is to know. I don't know. But so I got the idea, but not the analysis. Analysis comes afterwards. First you have the synthesis, then you have analysis. If you learn a language in order to get fluency in it, you need to get first the synthesis, then you go to the analysis. Analysis is necessary. Explicit grammatical teaching is necessary. There is explicit grammatical teaching in the Polis method, but not as a first point, because otherwise we start in the reversed way as the natural method. We haven't learned, none of you has learned Portuguese in that way, analyzing first or learning first the grammar. Grammar came afterwards, but you need grammar to speak a good Portuguese. In the early stages, so pragmatic communication is prioritized. And students, because students comprehend more than they can produce, and they use language that they cannot analyze yet. So analysis will come eventually. Let us go on. So language acquisition is based on the 4 basic language skills. This is very basic stuff, but I mean, we first hear a word, so oral, passive, listening is the first thing. Then we pronounce it, so oral, active is the second step. Then we read it in certain exercises, third step. Then finally we write it down. But what we cannot do is starting by reading. That is completely unnatural. I mean, why ancient languages should be taught in a different way than any other language? Were they not languages? So one will tell you, no, but they have declensions, okay, such as Polish, such as Russian. We don't learn Russian learning just all the declensions one after the other, and then no, I mean, there is you first hear the I would say even first hear a word. I would say first hear a sentence. We don't learn words, we learn sentences. So that's a very important thing. A word doesn't have a meaning. Any linguist will tell you. It has a potentiality of meanings. And if I hear the word, I don't know, do, could be anything in English. But if I hear a sentence, then I know what it is. If I hear the word logos, I cannot tell you what it is. I can tell you it could be 15 different things. I need a sentence. A sentence, then I have a meaning. So we learn through sentences, not through words. I always recall the same experience. I had to go twice in my life to Japan. In Japan, Japanese people don't speak English. Perhaps some speak, but they are ashamed of speaking. There is a culture of the shame, and they don't want to make mistakes. So in the end, they don't speak. And the poor foreigner, it happened to me the first time. I went there not knowing any Japanese. So I had to go for a trip from Osaka to Tokyo and go back. And so I had written down which train I had to take, where I had to change trains and so on. But there was a change suddenly, and I didn't see my station. It was not written. So I started looking at it, and I cannot. So I went to someone. Sorry, do you speak English? He flees. To another one. Do you speak English? She flees. do you speak English? 4, 5, 6. Nobody wanted to speak with me. So I was stopped. I was stuck. I was desperate. So I was trying to look what I'm going to do now. I don't know which train to take, in which train to get in. And suddenly someone saw me and he had pity on me. One of those who know English but are ashamed to speak. So he said 3 words. Each word was a sentence. He had a look at my page, my paper. I told him, and then he told me, number 6, bound to Kobe, platform 3. So I said, I bowed very low, and I could get to the place I was going to. The second time I went to Japan, I said, this won't happen to me again. I'm not going to learn Japanese. I'm going to learn, because I don't have time to learn Japanese. Japanese is not a difficult language. The script is very, very, very difficult, but the speech is not difficult. So I said, I'm going to learn 100 sentences. That I can do, 5 minutes every day. I have 3 months. I will learn 100 sentences. I will write down in my notebook. It was the time, now, you know, you have apps. You say whatever you want, and then they say, taka, 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 tiki. And then, okay. And then they say, taka, 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 tiki. They answer, and then you have the translation in English. Okay, I understand. That, but back then, it was 15 years ago, there was you didn't find this kind of apps. So, but I learned my 100 sentences, essential sentences, sentences to survive. I mean, it was really a kit for surviving. Where is the post office? Where is the station? I am Christophe. Who are you? I am sitting. I go there. I mean, 100 sentences. I mean, the basic things. And someone who came with me to Japan, he had an incredible memory. Someone who has learned, I mean, he knows many more languages than me. He learned words. He arrived to Japan. He had learned 1,000 words. He was not able to communicate. I had learned way less than him, 100 sentences. I survived. It was amazing. I could go to the bank to change money, because even in the first bank of Nagasaki, which is the third city of Japan, nobody will talk to you in English. Nobody. There was an instance where it was something strange. A plane, I had to go back. So the plane was going from Nagasaki to Tokyo, but landing first in Osaka. And then, so everybody had to go out of the plane and then come back to the plane, and then it went back to Osaka, the same plane. So that was for me very strange. I had never seen something like that, a plane like a bus. And but I had to ask, we go down, we go up? Yes, okay. And I understood. I have forgotten all these words. I have forgotten all that. But I knew my 100 sentences. I still have somewhere in my computer the file with the 100 sentences. You learn sentences, you can survive. You learn words, you will never get it. A sentence gave you the construction of the word, the context, a mini context. It gives you, knowing 100 sentences is knowing a language, very basic. You can know 5,000 words, you don't know the language. So let us go on. So there are the modes of discourse. Go on, please. Go on. You can put everything, because otherwise it's, of this sentence. Yeah, that's it. So we have first dialogue. Dialogue is the first mode of discourse. A serious method has to start with dialogue. We cannot start with a written text. We cannot start with a tale. We have to start with dialogue. This is the basis of a language. We start with the greetings. I've been for 3 days in Brazil, but I mean, the first thing in Brazilian, bom dia, boa tarde. I mean, it's muito obrigado, de nada, these kind of things. This is the basis, the greetings, then the dialogue, who are you, where are you from, and so on. This is the first thing that you learn in any language. You describe your environment, you communicate immediate needs. Then you have a second mode of discourse, which comes later on, which is storytelling. You don't see anything from there, Fernando? Are you sure you don't see the screen? You can see like that. Okay, you can see, okay. Okay, so then there is storytelling, reporting on past events, telling a story. This is already a second level. Third level, not necessarily level, but third mode of discourse, which appears when you develop the skill of talking a language, is speech. Speculating about future events, arguing about assumptions and consequences, treating abstract topics. By the end of many of our programs, students need to give a 10 to 15 minutes long speech. So when you go, you come to Polis and you stay there for 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, you give a speech in ancient Greek. So you prepare it for 3 hours. You have the topic, you prepare it for 3 hours. You cannot use anything, no dictionary, no nothing. You can write down some ideas, but you cannot read. It has to be extemporaneous. And you speak for 10, 15 minutes. There have been incredible speeches this year. And then poetry, where you play with language, you appreciate the form of the language, you push language to its limits. So I would say that any person who masters her or his mother tongue can dialogue, otherwise you don't know your mother tongue, and can storytell. But even for your own tongue, there are some people who are not able to manage speech. And poetry, even for your own tongue, there are many, many people who cannot write poetry in this tongue. Let us go on. So grammar teaching, go on, please. That's it. Thank you. Yes. So grammar teaching is inductive, but also explicit. So saying that it is explicit doesn't mean that it is deductive. It is inductive. First, you are exposed to the language. Then you have grammar teaching. So we will have an exercise, preferably living sequential expression exercise. We will talk about that. So we ask someone, I don't know, I will ask Fernando, Elfejode. Τι έπραξας?
Έλθον.
Σου έλθες. Τι έπραξε? Τι έπραξε? Είπετε. Έλθε. Now I will say, τι ονομασόι? Τι ονομασόι? Τι ονομασόι? Όνομα μόι Χριστόφορος. Τι ονομασόι? Ρικάρδε. Ελθεχόδε. Χυμαίνα χώρα. Χυμαίς, τι έπραξατε?
Έλθω.
Χυμαίς, έλθετε. Τι έπραξαν? Τι έπραξαν? Τι έπραξαν? Τι έπραξαν? Τι έπραξαν? Έλθον, έλθον, κάλλιστα, έλθον. So we will, thank you. We will do that with, perhaps with a scene, but there will be many exercises like that with erchomai, lambano, all the verbs that are conjugated in the same way. Ballo, baleten sfairan, ti epraxas, evalonten sfairan, so on. And in the end, I mean, we will write down the conjugations. Ego, everybody will say elthon. Su, everybody will say elthes. Ekeinos, and I will write it. And I will write the whole conjugation. And so then we learn the chart, but there is no trauma. You know, it's very important to approach ancient languages without trauma. I will say even more than that. It's very important to approach ancient languages with fun. We always used to say that when there is at the beginning, when we were still recruiting our teachers and training them. So in the summer courses or during the courses in the year, I was going in the corridor, and if I heard a lot of laughter in each classes, that's going well. Suddenly there is a class where there is no laughter. Problem. There is a problem. People are not laughing. They are not learning. This is what Krashen explains. I mean, it's the emotional barrier. You know, there is an emotional fence. If I'm talking for languages. For other topics, it's different. You don't need laughter to learn history or whatever. But for languages, you need to be extremely at ease. If you are under tension, if you are stressed, you don't learn. If you are not afraid of making mistakes, it doesn't mean that, okay, we make mistakes and we speak as we want. No, the goal is to speak very well. But it's okay to make mistakes. We are going to tell you afterwards how you have to say. But don't be shy. Just talk. If there is like in Japan, I won't speak English because I will make mistakes. So you will never speak English. Never. It's very important to be, completely without stress. So often the explanation comes after the student has already been using basic features of the grammar item. Grammatical explanations are kept to the minimum, and they are gradual. So at the end, you could have complex grammatical explanations. When to use the optative, how, in which kind of clauses you use the optative. The optative, I don't know how you say that in English, but oblique optative and the optative of repetition in the past and so on. You have complex features. They will be seen little by little, okay? The explanations are always visual and with colors, if possible, in the blackboard, so that you see the endings more clearly. Not all the users' aspects are introduced at once. So you could have some users at the beginning, and then, so for instance, the optative, we start with me genoito, genoito, me genoito. Very simple. And then you go first the optative for wishes in an independent clause. Then we will go to other uses of optative, but we have to go step by step, not to overwhelm the student. And it goes faster. It doesn't go, it would be wrong to assume that it goes faster if you learn everything in the same time. You don't learn anything. There is a difference between learning and acquiring a language. We are not learning the language. We are acquiring the language. It's different. To learn a language, you could learn by heart a grammar. Okay, you have learned it. But have you acquired it? If I ask, they come and you don't have it immediately, so you haven't acquired it. Perhaps you have learned it. So that means that, okay, elson, elses, else, elsom, and else. Elson. So no, that's learning, but it is not acquiring. Acquiring, it comes natural. You need that if you are going to get somewhere close to reading fluency. If I want to read the Symposium of Plato, just slowly, but reading, as if I were reading English, okay? The only way it is to have these conjugations, these declensions completely internalized. If they are internalized, they pop up. I mean, naturally, I don't have to think to say that because it is automatic. So then I will be able to read. You see, we are not speaking ancient Greek for the sake of speaking ancient Greek. I will tell you immediately, to speak ancient Greek in my life, only twice in my life, I have needed speaking ancient Greek, only twice. I mean, to be in a situation where either I spoke ancient Greek or there was no communication, only twice in my life. I'm not going to spend 500 hours, 1,000 hours in Greek to learn Greek for 2 small conversations in my life. I will tell you the first case. I was in Athens, first time in Athens. And I wanted to, it's okay if I can stand? Okay. I wanted to, I had a layover, 24 hours in Athens. So I went to the Acropolis, I visited the Parthenon, I visited the Agora, I visited the Areopagus, everything. And then I had my luggage with me, I mean, my pack, and I took a taxi. Okay, so I enter into the taxi, I sit down, and I say, "Do you speak English?" "Ohi." I started fearing. I mean, this starts very, very badly. "Vous parlez français?" "Ohi." "Parla italiano?" "Ohi." "What do you speak?" "Greek." Signomeneche Kyrie. Ego bulomai eistona aerolimena por euthenai. He starts laughing and laughing and laughing at me. I got angry. "Su gelas alla ute bretanisti, ute gallisti, ute italisti la leis, eistona aerolimena." He started laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. He was very smiley with me. He was very nice. He made me a very good price. He brought me to the airport. I had to communicate. I had no other solution. The second time was when I went to Marsaba. Marsaba is a monastery, Greek monastery. It's the most ancient monastery of the Holy Land. It has been continuously occupied since it was founded by Saint Sabas. And the road, it's not that the road passes by the monastery, it finishes there, because afterwards you have the desert of Judah till the Dead Sea. You have nothing else. And it's very, very nice. People want to visit it, but it's not easy to visit because the Orthodox monks don't like having many people. It's understandable. They have gone to the end of the world not to be disturbed, and they don't want to have many visitors. So I went once, I was alone, and I knock at the door, and the door doesn't open, but there is a trap like that, and I see a grid, and I see the face of the monk with his beard behind the grid, but the door was completely closed. And so I said, "Hello." Didn't say much. And I say, "Do you speak English?" "Ohi." Same story. We were in Israel, so I said, "Medaber Ivrit." "Ohi." "Tehti Arabi." "Ohi." "What do you speak?" "Greek." "Ego eimi didaskalos tes Hellenikes glosses, didasko entois Jerusalimois, bulomen historiesai ten monen." Immediately the door opens and he has a very nice smile and he says, "Orthodoxos?" I said, "Catholicos." And I see he smiles like that. And then he tells me in modern Greek, so you go down the stairs and you will visit and then you have the church and you can visit and so on. Okay, I went that way. There it was necessary. I mean, but only twice in my life. So what I mean is that we are not learning ancient Greek for the sake of talking ancient Greek. It would be completely stupid. There's no need. There are people learning Elvish. We could learn Elvish, okay? No need, okay? It's not learning ancient Greek for the sake of learning ancient Greek. The only reason is it is the only way that I know, and I have tried many ways, to get to real fluency reading the text, because this is what we want. So that means that we have to use in daily life the Greek language a lot of time to become really fluent, because each time, after each conversation, not after each conversation, but many times after a conversation, we say, how would I say that? How would I say that? And I search and so, I'm fine. Then I can go on, we can complete the thematic dictionary of ancient Greek that we are preparing. And it enriches each time our language because it becomes active. And then, oh, I find it. That's that phrase that I was looking for. I find it. Or I am reading and, this is how they say that. Interesting. Recently, imagine, we are really still in our first steps, even if we speak much better Greek than some 15 years ago. Some months ago, I was thinking, how would I say, because of a conversation, how would I say it's a pity in ancient Greek? So of course I can say strange things that are not Greek. Kakon an eye. This is not the phrase. People wouldn't say that. I could say, I don't know, poneron an eye. No, people didn't say that. I mean, it didn't sound, no, I haven't seen that sentence ever in my text, in the text that I have read. So you start making a research and then suddenly you find schretlion an eye, and you see that it is many times used. This is phraseology. So you add it up to the dictionary that we are preparing, and then when you find it, you understand in a different way, because it is not schretlion an eye, or what is it, schretlion, what is an, what is eye. No, take the phrase schretlion an eye. It would be a pity. This is phraseological. This is the way they said it. You understand much more than if you had only an analytical access to each word. It's amazing how deeply you understand the text. Then suddenly the text of Plato becomes something alive. You are talking to Plato. You have a dialogue. I mean, it's very impressive. But for that, we have to go to the living thing. So our techniques have a strong focus in grammatical aspects. So we conceived pragmatics as the skeleton of the language. Vocabulary would be the flesh. Let us go on. The verbal tenses are introduced according to first language acquisition research. So for instance, imperfect is really towards the bottom of the catalog. We are not going to learn first the imperfect because it is very easy grammatically to learn it. Let us learn what is useful. So for instance, the verbs in me, we have to start with that. The verb in me are the verb histemi. We have to start with that. I mean, I'm not saying starting, but yeah, almost. We have to learn some forms of the verb histemi very soon, because the most complex verbs are the most frequent ones. If they were not frequent, people would forget how you conjugate them. They are complex because they are frequent. If they were not frequent, they wouldn't be complex. They would be irregular verbs, and people just have the automatism. But to say stop, stethi, this is the first thing I have to learn with histemi. Stethi, the aorist of histamai. Stethi, stop. Okay, and so we have to start from the very beginning with the verbs in me, because they are extremely frequent. Otherwise, we wouldn't use them as much. I mean, they are very frequent, so we need them at the very beginning. We are not learning the verbal tenses according to the grammar or according to the easiness of the grammar. So it's the other way round than what you find in most of the textbooks. Let us go on. Vocabulary in context. No. So the vocabulary is introduced when it is relevant. The dialogues and stories are the basis, but not the starting point. You don't start a lesson with a dialogue. You first have all kinds of exercises, like we had a small example of come here. So, I mean, if I tell someone come here, even if I say it in Chinese, the person will understand. Come here, come here. I mean, with a gesture, people will understand. So then the you don't start with the dialogue. You have activities, and then you have a dialogue which illustrates what you have learned. Krashen would say that we need, when we read a text, to understand 95% of the text. If not, we are losing our time. If you understand 95% of the text already before you are approaching the text, you will learn the 5% that you don't learn, either through the context, or, well, perhaps I have to look for one word, okay, in the dictionary, and then I will remember it, okay? But if I am learning as I did when I learned Latin, okay, the teacher was anxious to give us real Latin. So we were the first semester learning with made up texts, and then second semester, okay, at last, real Caesar. So we had a sentence out of, nothing, just a sentence with 5 notes to tell you what is this, what is that, what is that. So you took, okay, tac, 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 tac. It's like a puzzle. It's like an equation. Okay, boop, I got it. This is not reading. And we are not learning, because 2 days afterwards, you would have asked me, what was this word and this word and this word? I don't remember. I will mix up the words. I don't have them, you know? So the vocabulary has to be introduced when it is relevant. The students only approach the text of an author very gradually. So there is the possibility of having tiering texts. We had in Dallas recently what we call the synodos, which is because we have courses of Greek, normal courses of Greek in full immersion, and then for teachers or people who already speak a little bit of Greek, we have what we call the synodos, which is we don't learn the language, but we have activities in Greek. And the theme of the synodos was the Peloponnesian War. So we were reading the book 4 of Thucydides. And so you are going to tell me that Thucydides is the most difficult prose author of Greek literature. And even we have the testimony, I don't remember now who said it, but one of the ancient authors, I don't know if it was, I don't remember who it was anyway, but he said, even for us Greeks, and he was talking about, it was an author from Hellenistic times, so 2nd, 3rd century AD. To read Thucydides, some passages we cannot read them without helps, without some explanations, a glossary. A glossary, not a glossary because the words, they know all the words, but they don't understand the syntax because he is extremely abstract, extremely, okay. So imagine for us, but yet there is the possibility of tiering text. So we start with activities, just taking the text. For instance, we had Brasidas and Demosthenes. They were fighting around Pylos. Okay, so, well, one of the students becomes Brasidas, and 3 other students are the nautai, the sailors, and get into the boat, start rowing. Hen, duo. Then we are approaching the coast. Okay. Then land the boat, get out from the boat. And all these actions are in the text. Then you have Demosthenes, who is talking to his hoplites, his Athenian hoplites. And you make the same thing. So preparing for the fight. Okay, once you have done that, once or twice, they remember because they have done with their own body these actions. So they remember already a lot of vocabulary. Then you have a text, which is an easy text. So I rewrote large chunks of book 4, okay, of Thucydides. How shall you write that? So first of all, you have a sentence which is like that, like Thucydides likes. He has very long sentences. You get lost. You go to the core sentence, the core message. And if there are 2 or 3 words that are difficult, you give a synonym which is easier. And you give that. Then you write the same sentence, but with the genitive absolute that goes with it. Then again, the same sentence with the genitive absolute plus a secondary clause. Then you add things, and people read the same sentence once and again. From time to time, instead of a synonym, you have the real thing. And then once we have read all that, let us go to the real Thucydides. And they read the real Thucydides. I understand. Yes, you understand. Takes time, but there is a possibility to do that. And then once we have done that with large parts of chapter of book 4, they can at home read it again and savor the Greek text, because they don't need any translation, anything. They are just savoring the Greek text. And this beautiful story of, I mean, it's dramatic, but it's beautifully written. Let us go on. That's it. So Krashen had an incredible vision of what comprehensible input is. I cannot learn a language if I understand 50% of the text. And this is what we are doing many times. We don't understand why we don't progress. We are looking at the same words 10 times because we are just translating texts where we understand 50%, 40%, 30%. If instead it was 95%, this stands for I, plus 1, this stands for the new thing, 5%, then it would be much easier. But input is not enough. Contrary to what Krashen used to say, we also have to speak. But anyway, so then the new units of knowledge remembered in working memory cannot be many. We cannot learn more than 7 words, 7 new words per each hour of teaching. So there are people who could learn perhaps 2 more. Cognates is different. If there is a cognate, I can learn as many cognates as I want, but new words, more than 7, it's very difficult. So, and these words have to appear once and twice and 3 times and 4 times during the class so that they really sink into our memory. So it's important to know that when we prepare exercises. Okay. And there is a spiral learning theory. The units resume topics that were already introduced in the past. So what is not reminded becomes forgotten. We cannot see a word once and that's it and think that it will be remembered. Things have to appear time and again. Let us go on. Total physical response. Total physical response is a tool, not a method, because teaching is an art. That is what James Asher used to say in the 70s. So, do you know what total physical response is? So just what we did before. Stand up, walk, go to the door, open the door, come back, write your name on the board. So we say that and the student does it. This is total physical response. It's extremely useful and powerful to learn a language because the context tells you what you have to do. Okay, and you don't have to speak at the beginning, so you have to do. So the commands don't need, according to total physical response, to be sequentially connected. And from commands, they move to other verbal tenses, as we did. Else, tie praxas, elso. Su elses. So this is total physical response, but in Polis, we don't use anymore total physical response per se. It's always within a sequence. We will talk about that. Let us go on. So we are much more flexible than the theory. We use it with sequentiality, living sequential expression. Living sequential expression is, we will talk about that afterwards. It's a technique that has been developed at Polis according to the inspiration that we got from François Gouin. François Gouin was a French teacher of Latin and Greek at the end of the 19th century. And his big mistake was to have incredible intuitions too early. In the 19th century, it was too early. So he wrote his book and he fell into oblivion almost immediately afterwards. And but there are incredible ideas in what he has written. And he understood that sequentiality is crucial. So if I say to someone, come here, open the door, get out, write your name, take this bottle, give it to me, it works. But it would work much better if I was able to map what we do every day, every week, every month, every year. So there are like 150 main activities. Each activity has like 6, 7 different actions. And if I teach everything in a sequence for instance, would be anasthesis, peripatei, hypostrepson, stethi, kathison. This is a sequence. Something that we do all the time. So you do it once with someone, another time with somebody else, another time 5, 6 times. Then you ask the students to guess what they have to say because they have heard it many times. Then you will ask them to say to each other, and they do it. They like it. You do it with an activity, with another activity, with another activity. You have like 150 activities. Taking a bus, going to the market, driving a car, washing your dishes, making your bed. There are like 150 activities that you do every day, every week, every month. If I know to say all this, I know my language. I mean, if I have the 150 core activities, you have much more than 100 core sentences. And you have already like 1,000 words vocabulary, and you have a minimum language, but you can talk about everything. Let us go on. So this is living sequential expression. I mean, so at Polis, we came up with a new name, Living Sequential Expression, and revitalized the series, which were very outdated because François Gouin had a series to open the door, and there were 15 different actions to go and open the door. No, I mean, you need 4. I mean, go to the door, open the door, get out, close the door. That's it. Okay? But this is an activity. So there is a first set of sequential commands, same as TPR, to introduce the student to the language. And the series are starting by everyday life, then things we do often, less often, and finally once in a lifetime. So far, they have been developed in a book which is called Unus Duo Tres in Latin, Hen Duo Tria, you have it here in Greek, Wise Now Shomt in Coptic. Then we have also the equivalent in Akkadian, and we are working in other languages. Let us go on. So then there is another technique, which is TPRS, teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. I don't know how long do we have? Because we are past the first hour, so perhaps it is too. We can have another 10 minutes. Okay, good. So that was invented by Blaine Ray. So basically, he was telling a story, and students were enacting this story. And after each sentence he said, there were many questions to make sure students had understood. And he was using he was applying the principle of quotient. So I plus 1, 95% plus 5%. So Française was saying, a king had 3 sons. There was a king who had 3 sons. Question, was there a king or a queen? Everybody will say, a king. How many sons had the king? 3. Had the king, did the king have daughters or sons? Sons. It's very easy to answer. And then you go to the second sentence and like that. So this is extremely efficient. One has to do it a little bit with more flexibility than what is said by Blaine Ray, I think, because it's a tool, it's not an end in itself. There is always the risk when you have found something new to apply it to everything, you know, but it is an extremely useful tool. Let us go on. So in TPRS, it's important to visualize the story through images or actions, to introduce new vocabulary while telling a story, to tell a story together with your students, and to retell it again and again. So for instance, what we do is at the end of the storytelling session, we ask the student, one student to tell everything with her or his own words. And then we ask by groups of two to tell each other the story. So suddenly you see that they are talking ancient Greek for 15 minutes with their own words after a session of 1 hour and a half with the TPRS. So it's very efficient. Let us go on. So other tools work in pairs and small groups. It's very important to make them speak. Assimilating paradigms as we have done. Else jode, tie praxas, elson, elses, tie praxe ekeinos, else. Okay, so this is to assimilate the paradigms. To have a set of characters like in Hendiotria or Unus Duo Tres is very useful because each character has its own way of being. To have pre and post readings like we have done with tiering texts, audiovisual media, drama, songs, images and props, games. Would be very long to explain all the arsenal of tools that you have to teach a language really in a living way. Let us go on. That's it. So now, if we have some questions. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's a very good question. So the thing is, we are obliged to create new words because otherwise we couldn't use ancient Greek in the modern world. And we need to use ancient Greek in the new modern world to be sure that we acquire fluency. So there are rules for that. And this is also one of the purposes of the thematic dictionary. Together with all the phrases that are attested and words that are attested with their quotes and from Attic or from first century Koine Greek. We're focusing on Attic, really Attic, and first century AD, okay, which are the two periods that interest more scholars for obvious reasons. So there are several things. First thing, try to be sure that the thing is attested in ancient world. You would be surprised. Toothpaste, odontomigma. You're creating it? No, it is attested in antiquity. Toothbrush, odontoxestes. You're creating it? No, it is attested. I can show you the place. Pyjama, enkoimetra. You are creating it. It is attested. I could go on with many realities. You would be surprised. They are attested. Okay, so once we have completely seen all what was attested, second step. If I want to talk about landing and taking off, there were no planes in antiquity. Okay, but there is Lucian, true stories. The boats are going to the moon. They are taking off and they are landing. What did he say? Anagomai katagomai, the vocabulary of getting out from the port and getting into a port. Anagomai katagomai. Okay, this is taking off. This is landing. I don't have to look for something else. This is how they would have said if they had been in the same situation. So I have the way to fly when I am in a plane. I have the word in ancient Greek attested for landing, taking off. I have all kinds of things. Third way, because this is not enough. Let us see if I can use a word that is attested, and I just use a metaphor. So the metaphor is new, but the word is attested. For instance, I could say, I don't remember, I had I have a full set of, I will tell you exactly some examples because I have a full set of. It's the introduction of the dictionary, and I have there all kind of examples, concrete examples. Okay, yeah. So I want to talk about a fridge. So there is no word for fridge, but let us see. In Spanish, how do you say fridge? Or in Portuguese, how do you say fridge? Geladeira. In Spanish, you say nevera, which is an ancient word, because a nevera in ancient times was an ice box, a cooler. So they would put food underground in a place that was very cold, and sometimes they had some ice from winter, and they would put it there. And even in summer, they could have ice. Okay, and they took that word for fridge. Okay, let us say I have the word for nevera, for icebox, psycheion. So psycheion is an icebox, and I will use it for fridge. I am not harming the Greek language. The main goal is not to harm the Greek language. So I want to say a match, okay? Okay, there were no matches in antiquity, but there were small pieces of wood to light fire, xylephion. Okay, let us say that this is a match. A train. There were no trains in antiquity. Okay, but in French I say train. Train is not an ancient, a new word. Train was first le train de l'armée. So the army going to the front was making a line, and you are all the wagons, and you call that le train de l'armée. Can I say that in ancient Greek? Certainly. Stoichos. Stoichos is the word for a train, because I'm not going to say treno, as they say in modern Greek. That would be harming ancient Greek. Then it's not enough. Okay, I can go a little step forward, and I can translate respecting the rules, passion fruit, I would say, perhaps either karpos to pathos, or even better, karpos pathetikos, because you have an adjective. They like adjective rather than, pomme de terre, potato. I cannot say potato, but I can say pomme de terre. So melon, gainon. And I have a model, melon armeniakon, for apricot. Armeniakon is an armeniakon is an apricot in ancient Greek. And armeniakon stands for melon armeniakon. So gainon, which stands for melon gainon. I'm not harming the language. There are coffee. Okay, a little bit more of imagination. Poton arabicon, which becomes arabicon. Arabicon is a perfectly ancient Greek word. Poton arabicon, Arabic drink, would be okay. Arabicon. Let us say it is not enough and we need more. Okay, we can take advantage of modern Greek words if they respect the rules of formation of words in ancient Greek. For instance, if I have telefono in modern Greek, I would say telephonon, that's perfect. Okay. Or if I have anapteras in modern Greek, I would say anapter for lighter. Anapter, anapto, that's good. It is good. It works well. So then I don't know, you can even go further on. How do I say hummus? Okay, I have a model, hepar, the liver, hepation is attested to have a decoction of liver. Phakos, lentil. I have fakion, which is a decoction of lentils. Erebinthos, chickpeas. Erebinthion, this is new, but it respects the rules, and that an erebinthion is literally hummus, a decoction of chickpeas. So I am not harming the language. The golden rule is to find an elegant solution. We had to translate the Petit Prince. We are still working on that. I mean, I don't like the translation that is that exists currently for the Petit Prince. And there in the first chapter, you have golf and bridge. Bridge is a card play, but so we would say Gefura. Okay, that would be okay. So the bridge. Bridge, I translate Gefura, that's it. But golf is more difficult. What I am going to do? Well, golf is a game. It's a sphirismos. It's a ball game. But it's, so I am not going to say sphirismos, it's too general. But it's a ball games that come from Scotland, Caledonia. Okay, I would say Ho Caledonicos sphirismos. And Syntomos, shortly, I would say Caledonicos. This is elegant. This is adopting a model that, imitating a model that does exist in ancient Greek. So we are not going to take loan words. We would really alter the language. We have to respect the language. We are not making, you know, in French you have an expression is Latin de cuisine. No, this is not what we are trying to do. We try to talk a very good Greek. I have been reading letters retrieved from papyri in Egypt in 2nd century BC, 1st century BC, 1st century AD. I can tell you the Greek that is spoken at Polis is way better than the Greek that you have in these letters. So I am at peace. Okay, we are not talking like Demosthenes, certainly not. Was Demosthenes talking like Demosthenes? He was writing like Demosthenes. He was not talking like Demosthenes, you know. I think that what we are doing is not an experiment, it's serious. That was your first question. Sorry for the longer answer.
So for example, if you have two students and one of them knows nothing of ancient Greek and the other one has been studying it for a long time and they're able to translate texts but not to speak, would you use the same techniques to teach them or different techniques?
It's a very good question. If the second student doesn't speak at all, so that second student will be in the correct group. That second student will come to the class and could eventually even help the other student, the weak students, because always when you have groups in pairs, you have a strong student and a weak student. But in any case, that strong student will have to learn. We had a student at UD who had learned a lot of Greek. So he had taken a test, a placement test that was only written placement test. So clearly, he was an advanced student. He arrived, he was lost. Go to the beginner students. And there he was happy. Because you have to restart the process. But at the same time, he didn't need to invest a lot of time, whereas the one who is starting from scratch has to invest more. So yes, they can learn together. Thank you. And another question? Yes.
Something that has worked for me in my in my journey in ancient Greek is modern Greek. It has helped me a lot. So I would like to know your opinion about modern Greek as a tool for learning and teaching ancient Greek.
This is an excellent question. You are not the only one who says that. There are many, I have heard about many people who have told me the same thing. I think it is excellent if you don't have access to spoken ancient Greek. So it is excellent because it has helped people. There is a risk to talk ancient Greek with many modern Greek expressions. I've seen that, and it's a risk, and you are not always aware where is it said or is it not said. Keitai ukeitai. You have a character who's they're making fun. Who was the one who was making fun about the character keitu keitos? So in the Hypnosophists, you have a character who is called keitu keitos because he's a purist. Keitai ukeitai. It is attested, it is not attested. So he was called keitu keitos. So there is a risk not to be sure about what is. I've never learned modern Greek. I didn't want because I was fearing that. But at the same time, I have to say, for people who have no other tool, because I was not alone. I had the Polis Institute. We have people to learn together. So it was different. But people who are isolated, it might be a very good tool, provided you make sure afterwards to be careful, not to. But even if there are some mistakes, okay. But it's good because it gives you the fluency. Then it's important not to pronounce, in my opinion, ancient Greek as modern Greek, because if we pronounce ancient Greek as modern Greek, so imis, is it hemeis? Is it humeis? And I have some context where imis, imis, imis. Oh, thank you for the answer. Okay, so and there are some texts where, and in fact, in modern Greek, you distinguish. Any language distinguishes. I mean, they have different words and they distinguish. But yeah, this is what I would say. Any other question? Thank you so much for your interest, and thank you.